Okay, yeah, this is my Donald Duck mug. Thought I put it in front today. Yeah, I talk about where to have the Donald Duck mug when you're talking about Democrats. Okay, yeah, okay. So, Camilla, that looks weird, huh? So, there was this thing about Bernie Sanders talking about felons having the right to vote. And that discussion has happened several times over the course of decades. Okay, if you look at Eric and Barry talk about felons voting, or felons owning guns rather. Um, and there's been discussion about maybe we should have this back or that back, blah blah blah. Okay, and I know some states allow certain felons to lobby to get their voting rights back after X number of years after the felony conviction, based on their current behaviors in life. Okay, if they're in and out of jail, probably not. If they committed a felony, went to jail, got out of jail, and have not done anything wrong in 10 years, maybe let them vote again. Okay, that's a state by state basis mostly. Federal felons are pretty much banned, period, because the federal conviction is the entire United States. And you remember Barry was talking one time about a woman he went to high school with about 40 years before the conversation happened, which was several years ago because Barry's gone, obviously. The woman had a fake insurance card and she was convicted of a felony. And to this day, the woman can't own a gun. And there's been discussion about nonviolent felons owning guns, nonviolent felons getting their rights back. And we all know prior to 1968, felons could buy guns. There's a picture of Malcolm X in New York City in 1964 holding an M1 carbine with two 30-round magazines jungle clipped. Okay. And Bernie Sanders was talking about the Boston Marathon bombing. Now remember the Tsarnaev brothers were what we call fake refugees. A refugee is someone that comes to another country because their original country is a threat to them. Maybe they're, political, whatever the fuck, you may have a Jew in Iran, you may have a white guy in South Africa, but people are oppressed. Soviet Union, Cuba, okay, people are oppressed and they are escaping their oppression to come to a free country. Okay, and obviously there's a long process when guys defected from the Soviet Union, which Bernie Sanders supported, by the way. Bernie Sanders supported the Soviet Union. Guys came here from the Soviet Union and from communist Romania. They had to fill out paperwork, they had to answer questions, they had to swear oath to the United States, blah, blah, blah. Okay, because they want to make sure you're not a spy. The Tsarnaev brothers claimed refugee status to come to America. Yet they went back to their home country back and forth several times. Well, if you're a refugee and if you're in danger, why are you going back and forth? So they were fake refugees. They falsely claimed refugee status to get here. And they were also on welfare. And they used their welfare money to buy components for a bomb. And they went to the Boston Marathon and they put one of the bombs next to an 8-year-old boy. It wasn't like they put the bomb down and the kid happened along. They put the bomb there knowing the kid was there. And when the bomb went off, he died. Several other people, plus limbs, okay, shit like that. Then the next day they killed a cop. The older brother was shot by cops, and his brother ran over his body as he lay dying. And the brother was convicted of, he was caught later that night in the boat. You saw in the movie and the documentaries, in the boat in the backyard. And he was caught, and he's now on death row. Bernie Sanders actually said that guy should vote. He specifically said the Boston bomber. So a fake refugee who had no business being here in the first place, who used his taxpayer-funded welfare check to build a bomb to kill real American citizens, should have a say in what goes on in this country. That's scary. Kamala Harris said that if the Congress didn't act within 100 days, I don't know if she meant within 100 days of the president getting reelected or if she meant 100 days of the president being reinaugurated. But if Congress doesn't act on guns within 100 days, she's going to sign an executive order. Now, even though I support the president, I did, however, disagree with the bump stock ban. I did. Because I'm an American citizen, I'm not a fucking robot, and I will still like a politician a lot, but peacefully disagree with them on certain matters. True. Well, what will Kamala Harris do? Ban guns, ban bump stock, ban blah, 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 blah. What is she going to ban? Ban magazines? Okay, what does require confiscation? What is she going to ban after the president gets reelected? And then they talk about, sex. I'll try to put a link down below if I can find that on YouTube. I saw it on Instagram and a couple other places, but I'll try to find it on YouTube. There's actually a video of her saying, felons voting, violent felons voting, sex offenders voting. I thought we cared about women. Kamala Harris joined the lynch mob against a federal judge because a woman accused him of sexual misconduct, and she still wanted to have the judge impeached after the woman was proven lying. Yet real sex offenders are going to vote. Okay, real sex. So you don't believe an American citizen should have a gun. But if that American citizen rapes a woman, he should vote from inside prison. Even if he's a rapist or a killer. And then there was this issue. They asked Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris went on to talk about Jim Crow. And, the ban on felons voting is an extension of Jim Crow. Well, last time I checked, white felons, Asian felons, Hispanic felons, they can't vote either. So it's not exactly an extension of Jim Crow. And the question is, if you are upset about Jim Crow, why are you a Democrat? The camera's at an awkward angle, so I'm looking in this direction, so I don't know if I should. I'm sorry about that. I know I look goofy, I'm looking in this direction. And I'm actually staying facing the camera, but I'm looking, whatever. And that was the question, should it's an extension of Jim Crow? Well, if you're upset about Jim Crow, why are you a Democrat? Because I did a term paper on voting rights in the former Confederacy for a law class. And every single one of those fucking laws was written by a Democrat to disenfranchise the blacks. And they also asked Bernie Sanders about the church shooter, the Charleston church shooter. And he went on a tangent about blacks in prison in South Carolina versus percentage. Well, we're not talking about blacks in prison in South Carolina or anywhere else. We're talking about a white guy who committed a terrorist attack against black people. Now, imagine if any Republican said, even as a joke, about a terrorist who kills black people being allowed to vote. Keep in mind that the president condemned the Charleston race riots, and he was painted as, they actually have convinced people that the president is responsible for the Charleston race riots, even though he condemned them. But when Bernie Sanders is talking about felons in voting, murderers in voting, terrorists in voting, keep in mind that the guy in South Carolina was a white man who went to a black church specifically, and because Jesus taught the people to love all of each other, regardless of their race, the black church allowed the white guy to pray with them and read the Bible with them. And after praying and reading the Bible for about an hour, he killed them. And he said he did it because he wanted to start a race war. That is literally the definition of treason. That is literally the definition of terrorism. You are killing people because of their race and hoping to start a race war between blacks and whites and destroy this country. That was literally the goal. Obviously, it didn't happen that way, thank God, but that was literally the stated goal. And Bernie Sanders went on a rant against Israel. That's how you know you're fucked up. When the Jews, when the Democrats hate the Jews so much that the Democrats have convinced Jews to hate each other. Okay, but think about that for a minute. Okay, every single person running for president now supports torturing babies to death. Every single person running for president now doesn't want the border to exist at all, period. Every single person running for president now supports foreign invaders coming into this country with impunity and getting more rights than you. Every single person running for president now supports foreign invaders participating openly in our elections. And now you have at least 2 candidates who are condoning terrorists, murderers, and rapists voting from inside prison. Okay? If you were to allow, because actually prison, a lot of people don't realize this, but between mental institutions, prisons, and jails, it is called the 51st state, because there are so many people incarcerated for whatever their problem is. They're incarcerated that they literally make up a state themselves. So you could, in all seriousness, give people the right to vote from inside prison walls, and the Democrats will control every single state, because there are enough prisoners in the prison voting to overpower the people on the outside in most states. So you might have 1 or 2 states that have a Republican governor, or 1 or 2 states that vote for the Republican nominee as president. Okay? Their hatred of this country has gone to a new low, even by their standards. They hate this country so much. Think about how much you have to hate your country when you support felons voting from inside prison who are going to vote for politicians and support them, obviously. When you support foreign invaders coming here and living at our expense and participating in our elections, okay? When you support killing babies, okay? This has gone to a dangerous new level. Okay? Virtually every single Democratic nominee hates this country. I cannot think of a single Democratic nominee today that does not hate this country. I can't. And Bernie Sanders actually supported the Soviet Union during the Cold War, which he should have gone to prison for. But he's actually on camera now saying, well, I didn't support the Soviet Union. Yeah, he did. There's actual video footage from the 80s of him saying he supported the Soviet Union. Talking about Russian collusion. This is scary. Okay? And people are not paying attention. Okay? People need to pay the fuck attention. They need to open their eyes, okay? Because if a convicted rapist or a convicted murderer can have a say in who the president is or who the governor is, you know what they're going to do? They're going to vote for candidates that are of their making. And those candidates of their making are going to be issuing pardons, issuing commutations, okay, appointing parole boards that will release anyone. Okay, this is scary. People will die. Okay, if you have inmates running the institution, which it really is, people will literally die. And if felons can vote, can they run for office? Most likely. Imagine a drug dealer running for office. Imagine the guy who sold heroin in your neighborhood, which killed little kids because maybe a kid got a hold of the heroin. Because a lot of times junkies have kids, and the junkie will leave the heroin out, and the baby thinks the white powder is fucking candy, and he ends up getting heroin in his body. Or people that are on cocaine, heroin, PCP, okay, crack, They rob people. They kill people. Okay, they fight. They do stupid shit. They attack people with weapons. Okay. And imagine the drug dealer being your member of Congress. Think about that for a minute. Could a drug dealer with multiple felony convictions vote from within prison, get out of prison, run for office, and be your Congress member? Well, Vinny, no one's ever going to vote for a drug dealer for Congress or for Senator. Really? Okay. Here's the issue. In Chicago, Jesse Jackson Jr. was elected to Congress from within a mental institution. He would. Do you know how fucked up you gotta be to be sent to a mental institution today? 99% of the guys in a mental institution today are there voluntarily. Okay? In order for you to go to a mental institution against your will today, you need to have at least 2 psychiatrists testify under the penalty of perjury that you are a danger to society. You need to be locked up. Jesse Jackson Jr. was in a mental institution, and he won a seat in Congress by a landslide. He legally could not vote. He legally could not serve because he was confined to a mental institution, and he was elected. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is a communist. She cannot read. Okay, she can barely fucking read. Okay, and she won unopposed. Maxine Waters does not even live in her district. Okay, she does not live in her district. Okay, Maxine Waters lives in a mansion, and her constituents are so poor they're one step shy of resorting to cannibalism. That's how poor they are. And she's a multi-millionaire. Okay, and I was watching a documentary on the LA riots. She was out yelling about the cops in LA in 92. She was a congresswoman then. Okay? People that hate cops. You have a member of the Black Panther Party that is a congressman. He is a terrorist walking the halls of Congress. You have 2 Muslim terrorists who are members of Congress today. There's a woman who came here from Somalia, even though refugees are required to go one country over. This woman from Somalia skipped over 50 countries to come to America to claim refugee status. She was settled in the congressional district that has spawned more domestic terrorists than every congressional district combined. She was elected to Congress. She hates the Jews. She supports the Maduro regime. Okay? She supports Hamas. And she was condemning, the other day, she was condemning the American soldiers who fought against the tribal leaders in Somalia. They were fighting against tribal leaders. They actually were fighting to take prisoner a warlord who was hurting innocent people. American soldiers went to Somalia, and I met their colonel. In fact, I'll show you a picture of the colonel. Oh, my phone's in the car. I have my phone out. My phone's in the car. But I met the colonel who fought in Somalia. They went to Somalia to stop this warlord from hurting innocent people. And she is a member of Congress condemning the American soldiers. Okay? So don't fucking tell me that felons won't be able to run for office and win. Alright, gotta get the phone out of the car. Take care.